Caitlin Clark's record-breaking performances have taken the basketball world by storm. She's rewriting history, shattering scoring records, and making the impossible look easy. But what if there's more to the story? What if one of the biggest reasons for her dominance isn't just her talent, but the ball itself? The WNBA uses a smaller basketball than the men's game, and this subtle difference could be playing a major role in Clark's historic numbers. Therefore, the question must be asked, would she be as dominant if she played with the same ball as the men? But before we get to that answer, let's break down the facts and speculation surrounding this controversial topic. The WNBA's official basketball is about 1 inch smaller in circumference and weighs nearly 2 ounces less than the one used in the NBA. This might not seem like a huge difference, but in a game that relies on precision, muscle memory, and shooting touch, it matters more than most realize. For shooters like Caitlin Clark, a smaller ball means a better grip, easier handling, and potentially higher shooting accuracy. The three-point line in the WNBA is also closer than in the NBA, meaning she's launching shots with a ball that is easier to control from a shorter distance. Therefore, when you combine these factors, it raises an important question. Is Clark's dominance inflated by these conditions? Of course, Clark's shooting ability is undeniable. She was already a lethal scorer in college, playing with the same size ball used in the WNBA. But her rapid statistical explosion at the professional level has left some wondering, would she be putting up these numbers if she had to use the heavier NBA ball? The debate doesn't stop with Clark. Historically, some of the best shooters in women's basketball have posted efficiency numbers that rival, and in some cases surpass, their male counterparts. Players like Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, and Sabrina Ionescu have all thrived under these conditions. But does that mean their numbers are inherently less impressive than those of NBA players? Some argue that the smaller ball allows for a softer touch on floaters, better spin control on jump shots, and easier ball handling moves. But others point out that women's basketball players have trained their entire lives with this ball, meaning the adjustment isn't an advantage, it's simply the standard. However, this discussion becomes even more interesting when comparing Clark to elite male shooters. Would she still break records if she were playing with the NBA's larger ball? Would her deep threes remain as automatic, or would her efficiency take a hit?
Wheeler finds Clark from the logo.
Look at Wheeler staring to the right side, knows who's there, drop pass behind. Could be the deepest shot we've seen Caitlin Clark make as a pro. Big one.
Therefore, the debate extends beyond just Clark. It's about the nature of the game itself. If the WNBA adopted the same ball as the NBA, how would it impact the league? Would scoring drop? Would elite shooters struggle to adjust? But perhaps the most compelling question is whether this conversation even matters. After all, the rules of the game are the same for everyone in the WNBA. Clark isn't getting special treatment. She's playing under the same conditions as every other great player before her. Therefore, is it really fair to suggest that her records are any less legitimate? This speculation also raises another point. If Clark is benefiting from the smaller ball, why hasn't every other WNBA player put up similar numbers? Clearly, there's more to her dominance than just the equipment. Her ability to create shots, read defenses, and deliver under pressure is what truly separates her from the rest. And this leads us to the biggest question of all. If the ball size truly plays a role in Clark's dominance, what would happen if she were forced to adjust? If the WNBA were to switch to the NBA-sized ball, would Clark's efficiency decline? Would her shooting mechanics have to change? Would defenders find it easier to contest her shots? Therefore, this isn't just a question about Clark, it's about the evolution of women's basketball as a whole. There's also the psychological aspect of the game to consider. If Clark knew she was playing with the same ball as the NBA, would that push her even further? Would she embrace the challenge and prove her shooting talent is undeniable regardless of ball size?
That left shoulder.
Austin had her 11th double-double of the season, and Clark hits a three.
So maybe it was a good timeout.
Some analysts argue that moving to a larger basketball would close the gap between the WNBA and the NBA in terms of perception. Therefore, the change wouldn't just affect Clark, it would shape the future of the entire league. But this raises another question. Would such a switch actually hurt the quality of play? The WNBA's rules are tailored for the smaller ball, from shooting percentages to style of play. If players suddenly had to adjust, would that make the game more difficult, or would it force players to develop more versatile skills? Let's not forget, Caitlin Clark isn't the only player benefiting from the smaller ball. Many of the WNBA's top scorers have played under these conditions for years. However, Clark's rapid rise has put this issue under a microscope like never before. Therefore, the real question isn't whether Clark is a great shooter. Her talent speaks for itself. The bigger issue is whether the WNBA should rethink its equipment to align with the men's game. Would that increase respect for the league? Would it make WNBA records more comparable to NBA records? Or is this simply a difference in the sport that should be embraced? There are also financial implications to consider. A change in ball size would mean adjustments in training, sponsorship deals, and merchandise. Therefore, this decision isn't just about gameplay, it's about the business side of basketball as well. And that leads us to the final question. If the WNBA did make the switch, how would Caitlin Clark respond? Would she prove that her skills translate no matter what, or would it expose weaknesses in her game that haven't been tested yet? The reality is, Caitlin Clark's greatness isn't defined by the size of the basketball, it's defined by her skill, work ethic, and ability to perform in big moments. However, the discussion around the WNBA ball size isn't going away. Some believe it creates an unfair advantage, while others argue that it's simply a different standard of play. Therefore, the real question isn't whether Clark is great, it's whether the WNBA should rethink its equipment to match the men's game. But here's where things get interesting. If the WNBA ever made that change, how would it affect Clark and future stars? Would they adapt and continue dominating, or would it completely shift the balance of power in the league? That's the answer we might find out in the years to come.